Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Well, hello, everybody, and happy Thursday. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Wednesday, and there's plenty to get into because Garett Bolles is all over the headlines, having a quote with the words, same crap when it comes to the Denver Broncos quarterback situation. Here we go. Let's roll the tape, everybody.
What changes the most when you're going through all those quarterbacks?
I don't know, man. My job is just to block the quarterback. So, I protect them on the field. I protect them off the field. That's what the Broncos pay me to do. So, I don't. As frustrating as it is, it's frustrating for me since I've been here for so long, and it's just the same crap over and over again. But at the same time, I got to go out there and do my job, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Just the same crap over and over again. And Broncos country definitely feels that way too. Obviously, since 2016, a rotation of plenty of quarterbacks coming in. And even better, you guys, the media yesterday asked Garett Bolles if they could name all the quarterbacks that he's had to block for. And he gave it his best shot. So take a listen there as well.
Every single one. My rookie year, I think I blocked for Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler. My second year, 2018, I think I had Case Keenum. My third year, I had Joe Flacco, Drew Lock, Jeff Driscoll? Does that sound right? No, Brandon Allen. That was Brandon Allen. The following year, I think it was, what was the following year? Was that 19?
Now you're on 20.
Now I'm on 20. 20 was, I think Jeff Driscoll played that year when we played Pittsburgh. 2020, Kendall Hinton, you have to bless him because he was our quarterback. Drew Lock again. Then 2021, I think it was, give me a second. What was 2021? Teddy. Who's the backup for Teddy? Drew again. Then there's another one. Brett Rippon was 2021. 2022. Who was 2020? Russell. And then I got hurt. And then we had Russell and now Case Keenum. I lose count. I mean, that's a lot of quarterbacks now. So
That is a ton of quarterbacks for sure. And honestly, my favorite part of that entire quote is the fact that he said Case Keenum instead of Jarrett Stidham, obviously, for who's going to be behind him this upcoming weekend. And same for last weekend as well. You guys, there are so many names when you go down this list that I don't blame him for saying the same crap. Yes, it is the exact same crap. When are the Denver Broncos going to be able to figure it out and find the quarterback? Will Peterson's going to join the show here in a little bit, and I'm going to get his gut feeling of, is whoever the next Broncos quarterback going to be, is that going to be the future, or are we going to continue to go into this, let's try and just put a Band-Aid over it? Now, here's the thing. We can all agree, we thought Russell Wilson was going to be the person. It didn't end up being the guy, which is a huge bummer. Jarrett Stidham's not going to be the guy regardless. He's not even looking at it as an audition right now for the starting QB job. He knows he's being paid to be a backup and to come in and do his job and win the next 2 games. But you can go down the list. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Drew Lock, Brandon Allen, Jeff Driscoll, Phillip Lindsay, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, Russell Wilson, Brett Rippon, and then Jarrett Stidham. There's so many starting QBs on that list. Even when I was trying to think, I was like, and I wasn't even doing it on the spot. I'm like, okay, let's try and think of who have been the 13 starting quarterbacks for the Denver Broncos since 2016. And I only got 10 of them because, yeah, there were some names in here where you were like, what the heck? But also, the exact same time, I don't blame them for being sick of this quote unquote same crap. I'm over this quarterback situation as well. And I feel like we just need to figure it out. It's the time. We just need to draft a QB. So let me know in the comments who you are interested in. And also, Garett Bolles is one of those guys where I got to give him credit. He is always upfront and honest. We have seen the emotion on his sleeve. There are so many times where I've been in the locker room and he's like, I don't want to talk to anybody, because he is feeling, after a loss especially, he is feeling all of those emotions and he does not want to talk about it. So when he says something like that, and he's saying it in a very normal way, I feel like just as if Broncos country was discussing this, of it's the same crap that we're going through time and time again. So I don't blame him at all. I think it is totally frustrating and I get it. Now, on a better note and an exciting note, The Pro Bowl. The Denver Broncos had 3 players selected to go to the Pro Bowl this year: Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, and Marvin Mims Jr. So congratulations to all of those. But did one guy, you guys, get snubbed? And I think this is a fascinating one. If you've been paying attention to Coffee Break for a while now, you know, after many beautiful catches this season, I was saying, hey, this man needs to be going to the Pro Bowl. He needs to be in that conversation. And that man is Courtland Sutton. So many beautiful catches that we have seen out of Courtland Sutton this year. These are obviously just 2 of them. I feel like there were a ton, but he in fact did not make the Pro Bowl. And while I was kind of like, oh, this is a little bit of a bummer with what we've seen this season from the offense and Courtland Sutton being wide receiver number 1, I was hopeful, but I was also being really realistic. And Andrew Mason, like Andrew Mason does, if you love him, tune into Orange and Blue today, 3:30 p.m. here on the YouTube channel, Twitter, and Facebook. But he always does amazing research. And yes, he has had 10 touchdowns this season from Russell Wilson. Absolutely incredible catches. But he also ranks 20th in receiving yardage, 20th in catches, 17th, 21st. The list goes down and down and down and down and down. We're not seeing any top 10 categories right there from Courtland Sutton. And so, yes, it is a bummer. I would love to have seen Courtland Sutton make it, but it's not surprising either. And here's the thing. It all comes back to the quarterback. Who knows what could have happened if Jarrett Stidham would have been throwing the ball a little bit more. We saw Jarrett Stidham be able to have a bit of a better pocket presence. He's been able to see over the line, and I'm not trying to dog on Russell Wilson at all, but I'm just saying that does play into a little bit about what Courtland Sutton's season looks like. That plays into everything for all of the wide receivers out there. So I was a little bummed that Courtland Sutton was in fact not making the Pro Bowl, but of course, huge shout out to Pat Surtain for doing that. Justin Simmons, that's no surprise right there, but Marvin Mims as well. He's been so fun to watch this season. So I was excited for all of them too, but yeah, it's interesting because here in Broncos country, I think we get those orange and blues glasses on a little bit and we're like, oh my gosh, have you seen all of those catches by Courtland Sutton? Have you seen how he's looked here? Yada, 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 yada. And then, of course, we have to go around and look at the rest of the league and how that's looking compared to a guy like Courtland Sutton. I know there were people who were even like, Russell Wilson should make the Pro Bowl. Let's pump our brakes there a little bit. So I personally am not like a huge Pro Bowl person. I don't know about you guys. I'm not like, oh yeah, let's sit down and watch the Pro Bowl. I do think that it is fun now with the Manning brothers obviously being the coaches and everything for it, and I think that adds a little bit to it. The Manning cast is still one of my favorite things every single week, but yes, I'm not like ride or die on the Pro Bowl. I'm more like, okay, let's get to the Super Bowl and see what that's going to look like. So Courtland Sutton not making it, but Justin Simmons, Marvin Mims Jr., and Pat Surtain, again, making it, headed out to the Pro Bowl right there. You guys, I feel like we can only talk so much about this like quarterback situation, and I'm kind of getting to the point too where I'm just sick of it. And I want to say that there's an answer right around the corner, but I also don't know if they're actually going to draft a QB. All the signs are pointing to them drafting it, right? And this finally being the year that, oh, they're going to draft it and we're going to start the rebuild. And Matt Smith was on yesterday and he's talking about, this team, what percent of it is like a championship level team, right? Championship caliber. And he's like 15%. And yes, that feels totally right. But if you don't draft it and you don't build it, I mean, it's not going to just change overnight. Next season's probably going to look a lot like this season, which is a huge bummer. But you come back to this game here on Sunday and why this game doesn't matter, but it actually does matter against the Raiders. And we can look at this for 2 reasons. Even let's just look at it from the Raiders' perspective, right? They're playing for nothing. Wrong. Antonio Pierce, their interim head coach right now, is trying to prove that he can stay the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's got something to prove. He already has the approval from Davante Adams. And it goes for the same for Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback for the Raiders. He is trying to prove something as well. And then, hey, for the Broncos, they're playing for the first winning season since 2016. They're playing for something as well. So yes, this game may be meaningless when it comes to the playoffs, but hey, there actually they are playing for a lot. So we're not going to just see some terrible game. We're going to see 2 coaches go out there with a good game plan, looking to beat themselves. And then you're also seeing 2 backup QBs who are trying to, yes, make a name for themselves. Jarrett Stidham may know that he's going to be the backup quarterback for a while, but that doesn't mean that he's not trying to win the game. And so, of course, I always love talking to people because Will Peterson's behind the scenes. And so I'm curious on Will's perspective when it comes to the fact that it's, hey, I don't think I'm auditioning for the starting quarterback role, Will, but at the exact same time, is that because he just knows he's going to be the backup QB for whoever comes in? Or because, I don't know, he already, I can't find another actually solution now that I think about it, because he probably has to know he's not going to be the starting QB in the future. Well,
Yeah, but I also think he doesn't want to put that pressure on himself or the team of like, oh, this is some big start for me. And if I go out there and throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, you know who the 2024 week 1 starter is? This guy, right? Like it would just be a distraction if he goes to the podium and says that. I talked about this with Mace on Denver Sports Tonight last night on 104.3 The Fan. We both agreed that it actually is an audition. Stidham would just be dumb to call it an audition because, again, it attracts extra attention, or maybe that ticks off Sean being like, why are you telling the media that, yeah, you and I may work together in 2024 and you may be the Denver Broncos starting QB come week 1 next year? I think by saying it's not an audition, he takes a lot of pressure off himself and just kind of pulls the cliche of, hey, I'm just here to win a football game.
Which I hate. Gosh, I wish players were more open and honest. I wish more players were like Garett Bolles and they're saying the same crap about the quarterback situation, because I hate the media language that players give. I'm like, give me something. Give me what you're actually feeling as you're going into, yes, kind of a big game for you, Jarrett Stidham. So own that. But I have to agree. I do kind of think it is an audition. And here's the thing. Even if it is an audition and he is the week 1 starter, it's because they drafted another guy who could possibly be just 1 more year. Like, he's not going to be the long-term solution for this Denver Broncos team, at least in my opinion, Will.
No, I agree with you. If he's the week 1 starter, he's a bridge guy to a first-round draft pick, and there's 6 of them. I mean, that's what's crazy. There's Caleb Williams out of USC. There's Drake May out of North Carolina. There's Jaden Daniels out of LSU. There's Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. There's Bo Nix out of Oregon. And there's J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. And any of the 6 could be the next first-round guy because, Rachel, if they lose, they could pick as high as 11. If they win, they could pick as low as 18. So any Broncos fan cheering for a win on Sunday, I'm sorry, I'm a Broncos fan too. The difference between 11 and 18 is massive. That could be the difference between getting your next franchise quarterback and not. And if you have to move up, say you have to get up to 4, right? Say you want Jaden Daniels and you got to get to 4 to get Jaden Daniels. It's a heck of a lot easier to get from 11 to 4 than it is from 18 to 4, which is almost impossible. Fans are sick of giving up draft picks. I'm sick of giving up draft picks. So to move up, you're going to have to give up draft picks and or player capital. Again, moving up 7 slots, a lot easier than moving up 14 slots. So long-winded answer of saying, go Raiders.
Well, and so that's what's so funny, right? Because I was just talking before you hopped on of how this game is meaningless when it comes to the playoff. Both have been eliminated, but yet they're also both fighting for something. So it's not going to be just some like, oh, throw in the towel kind of game, because the Broncos are fighting for a winning season. I haven't had one of those in a hot minute. But at the exact same time, the Raiders are fighting for, their interim head coach is looking to prove that he can be a coach in the NFL and keep a job. Same with Aiden O'Connell, their quarterback. So this game kind of has meaning, but at the exact same time, if you're Sean Payton, are you looking ahead to the future saying, yeah, a winning season would be nice, but to your point, I also know that I can move up a few draft picks.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, listen, you're never, you're never going to go in the locker room and say, hey, guys, let's
throw this one in, everyone.
Right. Let's lose today so we get the better draft pick. But here's the thing. If you're Sean Payton and you're looking at it this way, I think you have a very conservative game plan. And if you just so happen to lose 16-13, I don't think Sean's going to be heartbroken because Sean's got the big enough ego that even though media types may be screaming, Jarrett Stidham only scored 16 points and then the next week he only scored 13 points, Sean's going to say, I'm playing chess, not checkers. And that was getting us the best possible draft pick. So I can take one of those 6 guys as mentioned. Yeah, are Williams and May a pipe dream? Probably, but also – is Chicago open to trading the number 1 pick? Who knows? They did last year. So at some point, I think all options are on the table for Sean. And I think he needs a cheap quarterback. He knows he needs a cheap quarterback. They're going to cut Russ. I know you've talked all about the numbers and how much that's going to hurt him on the cap. And that quarterback room has to look like Stidham making $5 million and a rookie on a rookie deal even as a first-round pick, we know those aren't as extravagant as they used to be. Like when Sam Bradford back in the day was making more money than Tom Brady coming out of Oklahoma. That's all been amended. So I would be shocked, Rachel, if they don't go first-round QB. The best path to going first-round QB is losing to the Raiders, and unfortunately that means no winning season, and the losing streak to Las Vegas gets to 8 games. They'll have to snap that one next year, just like they snapped the Chiefs one at 16 this year.
Which it always felt like the Chiefs one was more important this year. So I was okay with that one getting snapped. But yes, Broncos country. To Will's point, you should be rooting for a loss because this season is already done and over with. This doesn't matter. We're looking to the future. And Will, to that point right there, in your gut, we spent a lot of time covering this Denver Broncos team. In your gut, do you feel like whoever is going to be the next quarterback for the Denver Broncos is going to be the future? That's a loaded question, I know, but just what is your gut telling you?
Yeah, I think they have to be. I mean, especially if you go first round. They haven't gone first round on a QB since Paxton Lynch, which we all know is one of the all-time busts in Broncos history. So if you invest in this quarterback, you have to get it right. Again, you have 6 options. We can watch 2 of them play on Monday night in the national championship, right? Yeah. It's a really good QB class. Is it the best QB class of all time? I don't know. We'll know that answer 10 years from now. We can't project that stuff. No one thought Patrick Mahomes, when he went number 10 overall to the Chiefs, was going to be the greatest quarterback ever when Mitch Trubisky was going 2 to the Bears. The famous 2018 draft. Josh Allen goes 7 to the Bills after Sam Darnold, an all-time bust at the Jets. Josh Rosen, a bust to the, I believe it was the Cardinals maybe. Yeah, I mean, it was something like that. So, I mean, every year, Rachel, a first-round QB hits. If not 1, maybe 2, if not 3. The Broncos have to be the one that hits. It has to be out of those 6 names. I mean, let's just realistically play the odds. Out of the 6 guys we talked about, one of them is going to potentially be a future Hall of Famer.
Yep.
2 of them will be, starters in this league for a while. Another 1 or 2 will be fringe starters, backups in this league for a while. And one of the 6 is going to be a bust. 4 years from now is, opening a car dealership. So that's just the kind of thing. Nothing wrong with opening a car dealership, but that's just the way it goes. So out of those 6, we're sick of it. Broncos country is sick of it. We can't be the one where he's the bust. We can't even be the one where, he's the fringe starter. We need to be the one where he's a legitimate 10-year starter in the NFL, or, fingers crossed, if one of these 6 is Canton bound one day, he needs to wear orange and blue.
My biggest fear is that they're going to be in like a Justin Fields situation where there's so much potential, or let's just even stick with the Broncos, like a Jerry Jeudy, where there's so much potential and yet we never seem to get above like that middle grade height. You know what I mean? Like we're halfway up the ladder when it comes to the potential. That's my biggest fear for the Broncos when picking in this draft.
Well, that's why you're paying Sean Payton $18 million a year. He might as well be called Sean Million. I mean, that's literally why you're paying this guy. Maybe, NFL head coaching salaries are not really public. They're kind of semi-reported, but that's why you're paying this guy as a top 3 coach in the NFL, because he's supposedly this all-time offensive genius. Drew Brees is the all-time passing leader because of Sean Payton. I don't believe that to be the case, but I think Sean maybe thinks that's the case. Like, you are so heavily invested in this head coach that he has to make this next quarterback work. He couldn't make Russ work. Greg Penner has clearly given him the big old broom, sweep everyone out. You don't want Sean. But then, as Zach By likes to say, we're flipping the hourglass over because now time's ticking on Sean. Like, he has to make this next quarterback work or he will get fired and the quarterback will be a bust and we'll spend another 5 years missing the playoffs. Like, this is the fork in the road for Broncos country. Like, I'm not saying 2024, even though CJ Stroud proved as a rookie you can be relevant, the Texans could make the playoffs this year, but come 25, come especially 26, it's go time. Like, it is go time, or Peyton's not the coach anymore. They're drafting a QB again, and then you and I are doing coffee break in 26 saying 2029 is the year. Like, it's a depressing thought, but that's where we're at.
Oh, gosh, could you imagine? I love how Zach, though, was saying it's all of a sudden flipped, right? It's everything's on Sean Payton. You were paying Russ, and everything was on Russ. That clearly didn't work. And I love how you said he couldn't make Russ work. I'm almost to the point now where I'm like, he didn't want to make Russ work. I know that sounds crazy, but it does just kind of feel like the more and more things are coming out, it just felt like he never wanted Russell Wilson to be his quarterback to begin with, Will. And I'm curious your thoughts on it because obviously there's so much drama going on in this whole situation right now, but I'm just curious your feelings.
Yeah, Scott Van Pelt on ESPN had a really good commentary on Friday night that I put on my social media, where he started by saying, in retrospect, it seems like Sean Payton never liked Russell Wilson. Yeah. And I thought I thought Scott kind of just nailed that. And he had, a 45-second monologue where he outlined some of the problems that we've talked about ad nauseum. But it was kind of one of those things where it was like, that's why Scott's the greatest in the industry, because he kind of just nails it. Like, in retrospect, Sean just didn't like him. You think about, him telling he's bothering Drew Brees, quit texting Drew Brees so much. They go to the Super Bowl last year. They go to dinner, but, Joe Montana's at dinner. I'd rather talk to Joe Montana. Russ, you go away. The whole, stop being a politician. Stop kissing babies. If we have to wristband it, we'll wristband it. Like, think about all the times this year. I mean, and then the meltdown in Detroit, the meltdown in Motown, the cherry on top of it. So, yeah, I think you're onto something that, this was just never a match. And it kind of is too bad because, in a sense, it feels like Sean never gave it a chance. And I think Sean would vehemently deny that and say, I gave it my all, and Russ just couldn't make it work, and we tried and we tried and we tried. Mm-hmm. But did you really try, or did you slap an assignment together that you knew was going to get a C and you were going to pass the class? And C's get degrees, Rachel, as I know very well. I don't know if you know that lesson, but
I know that very well too. You're good. C's do get degrees. And real quick side note, I was watching an interview actually with SVP, and I think SportsCenter with SVP is going to come to a conclusion in the next year and a half, 2 years. And I was like, wait a second, I can't imagine my nightly, sports news without SVP.
Is he retiring, moving on to something different?
He just says he can't imagine himself doing this they were like 10 years, and he was like, definitely not. And they were like 5 years. He was like, nope. And they were like 2 years, and he was like, I don't know. And I was like, wait, what?
Well, you got to remember that show's on the East Coast, and his signature line is, it's 12:37 Eastern, and I'm not tired yet. And he's not saying that to end a show. He's saying that to start a show. So, he's not getting off air till 1:32 in the morning. I know he's got a family. It's probably more of a lifestyle thing than anything else. But you're right. I mean, there's nothing better than Nuggets-Lakers goes final, and we go to Scott, and then we get a half-hour post-game show. So, yeah, that'd be disappointing, but I certainly wouldn't blame the guy.
Oh, me either. But yeah, I'm like, I love that show so much. The way he is able to, capture and engage with an audience is so, so, so good. Back to the Broncos, though. I'm curious your feelings because you put out a tweet on Sunday, I believe, talking about how, with all the NFLPA stuff that was coming out, that it's I don't remember your exact wording, but it was something along the lines of it's hard to root for this team. And I know you're not talking about the Broncos, but more I felt like the ownership group. Can you touch on that a smidge?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not ownership necessarily, but just it seems like a collective failure all around. I mean, whether or not you believe the threats, which Russell Wilson, I mean, he spoke in his locker and he said the threats were real. I think we have to take Russ at his word, especially after Sean went to the podium on Friday and said, I don't deal with contracts. And, back that bus up under George Payton, right, Sean? Yep. The reason I sent that tweet is it just all felt a little dirty. So I don't have anything against the Walton Penner family ownership group, but let's be honest, they've only been doing this for a year and a half. Maybe they don't understand that, that's not the best look to conduct business. I mean, you've got Dan Orlovsky on ESPN calling the Broncos classless. You got Ryan Clark going on these all-time rants against Sean Payton. It just feels like maybe the tippy top of the organization didn't understand that, hey, George Payton agreed to this deal 13 months ago. And it is just bad business to go threaten the man's deal 13 months later when you have buyer's remorse for giving out the deal. You know what, Greg? You should tell George, how about you don't threaten this deal? How about you take a hike? How about we dismiss you? So that's where it just it all just felt a little icky, Rachel. It wasn't directed at any one person, but it was the collective failure of the whole organization to get this bad PR that made me just say, you know what? Right now I'm a little down on the Broncos.
Mm-hmm. First of all, I 100% feel that way as well. I walked away on Sunday or I was walking into actually Empower Field, and I was just like, man, it does feel dirty. We have held the Broncos to such a high standard for so many years under the Bullen administration, etc. And it was just it was so close-knit and whatever. And yes, I totally understand how the Walton Penner ownership group is. They're this large brand, and I get that to a degree, but it did feel so dirty. And I think what stuck out to me the most was I don't think it was ownership. I think it was Sean Payton saying, hey, we can do this, right? Like everything's going around Sean Payton. And so it makes me look at the head coach of the Denver Broncos, who got suspended by the NFL for a year because of doing illegal stuff. So it doesn't come as a surprise that, he possibly was like, hey, we should just do this. Like, we have the power in this situation. And yet we're seeing something very similar. But at the exact same time, you have to look at who hired that man at the exact same time. And so, it's like if the kid gets in trouble, the parent's the one to blame, right? Like, it kind of goes back and forth to that.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Penner can just say, I trust Sean. I'm giving Sean all the power in the world. But he's still got to remember who the boss is.
Yeah.
And if the boss says, wait, we gave this guy this deal 13 months ago. He just beat the Chiefs and ended a 16-game losing streak. And we're going to threaten to bench him if he doesn't redo an injury clause that we agreed to? Yeah. That's where the Walmart hat needs to come on and says, I've ran the most profitable business in the world. This isn't how good business run. We're not going to do that. No one blames them for wanting to restructure. I mean, it was a bad deal. But to threaten to bench him after he beat the Chiefs and is trying to enjoy the bye week. I mean, if you're Russell Wilson, imagine, Rachel, if you did the most views you've ever done on Coffee Break in a month, and then our boss has called and said, yeah, we're pulling you off the air if you don't redo your contract. You'd be like, what? I just did the most views I've ever, the timing of it just is so bizarre that you almost wonder in hindsight, do they wish they had lost that Chiefs game? Because then they would have been 1-6, and then they could have benched Russ with ease. No one would have thought twice about them benching Russ. Like, you almost did Sean Payton drive home that night going, that just screwed up my whole plan?
Yep. But at the exact same time, did we really want a coach in here that didn't want to play with the QB that you are paying an outrageous amount of money to? It's a question for another day. Will Peterson, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for hanging with us.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to answer your question real quick. Sean was the third choice. You always got to remember that. They wanted Jim Harbaugh 1. They wanted DeMeco Ryans 2. There are reports on the record about both those. So to answer your question, maybe, because Sean Payton was always their third choice. They flew back to Ann Arbor to beg Jim. They begged DeMeco. They got told no twice.
Will Peterson, I love you for that, my friend. Have a great Thursday on that note. Thank you.
See ya.
All right. I absolutely love having Will on the show every single time. You guys, the stock show is coming into town. They've got the parade today. In case you didn't know that, if you are here in the Mile High City, I am a huge stock show fan. It's like I have two things every single year. In the fall, I head up to Estes Park to see the Elk Bugle. It's one of my favorite weekends. And then in January, I absolutely love going to the stock show and doing that. So if you are here in the Mile High City and you've never been, I totally recommend doing that. I finally got tickets for next Tuesday night, I want to say. So it's such a fun time. I love doing it. I know KYGO is going to be out there as well. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you comment down below, but also subscribe and like. This way the Denver Broncos fans can find Coffee Break as well as Orange and Blue today. I know that Cecil and Mace are going to be live 3:30 again today to be discussing everything going on with the Denver Broncos. So you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. Tomorrow morning, we will be back 10:30 a.m. for another episode. Peace out. Go get your stock show tickets. Bye, everybody.